So we're continuing the Africa story series, y'all. And like I said, it's not Storytelling Tuesday today, but I've got to tell you this story or these couple of little stories to set up the one for tomorrow, which is a doozy. So I have to preface those stories with my stories about my friend Don Faucet, who Don, when I was in Africa, was one of the first guys I met there on our project team. He was our project manager. He wasn't there the first day that I got there, but he showed up a couple days later. And we were staying at the hotel there on the base in Soyo, if you remember from the previous stories. We got there, didn't have a place to stay, but we were fortunate enough to get the guys from that we were working for, the company we were working for, to get us some rooms at the hotel there while they were setting our house up. So we had a house there in the village. It was off the base. It was right there in the village. It was a 4-bedroom house with a big great room, and it had 4 studio apartments in the back, where I was fortunate enough to have a studio apartment because I was a full-time guy there. And it was surrounded by a wall that had broken glass across the top and some razor wire on the other side. And we had a little couple of guys that worked there at the house. We had Conga, who was our cook, and he helped around the house. And then John was our security guy. He was just a local guy that did security for us. But we got to the house, and we had a lot of safety precautions that we were warned about, and what we should do and what we shouldn't do while we were there. So we tried to adhere to those as much as possible. But the first day we were actually in the house, this is kind of a funny little side story. When we got to the house and we started trying to, before Conga showed up and all that, we had to cook for ourselves the first few days and everything. And the funny little side story is that we got there, and I don't know if you have ever seen the movie Friday or not, but you know the scene in Friday where they're in the kitchen and he's like, "Man, y'all always got one of something and none of the other. You know, I know you got cereal, no milk." You know, and so that was the way it was when we got to our house. We had they had redone this house, and it was all on generator power, and we had to get water trucked in and things like that. So when we got to the house, there was we had all this fancy new furniture, you know, and we had a big, nice kitchen with a brand new refrigerator and a brand new stove, big gas stove, no gas. Nice fancy light fixtures, no light bulbs. You know, that's kind of the way it was for probably about the first month we were there. So, but we made it, we got by. And my friend Don, who was the project manager at the time for us, is an Australian guy. He's an Aussie, and hadn't known Don but just a day when we moved into the house, really. So we get to the house, and everybody's kind of moving their stuff in. And after we got settled a little bit, there was a TV room there where we would all gather and watch TV after work and things like that. So we were sitting around in the TV room there, and it was Don and I were sitting there, and we were kind of wondering, you know, what we were going to do. And we knew John was our security, but he was just one guy. He was just a local guy. But we felt pretty confident to him after we got to know him a little bit that he would at least let us know if there was any trouble brewing or anything like that. So we're sitting there, and they had told us that, you know, you shouldn't really go walking out around the village by yourself or anything like that, and gave us the heads up about safety around the area. Well, Don and I were sitting there, and we were thinking, you know, we have this wall here, and we got John, but, you know, we might as well go introduce ourselves to the neighborhood, because people definitely know we're here. So we said, okay, we put our shoes on and said, let's go see what's going on outside, you know. Let's go outside the wall and take a stroll down the road and see what kind of reaction we get anyway. So we did, and Don and I put our shoes on, we got John to open the gate, and we walked out into Soyo, the village, for the first time, and started walking down the road. And of course, we were just surrounded by locals who lived all around us. Most of the places didn't have any power or running water or anything like that. And you'd come across the occasional shop where they would sell local things. Well, as we were strolling down the road for the first day, Don is he's a guy that's about my size, I guess, but at the time he was a little older than me, and he had a all white beard and all white hair. And as we were walking down the road, it was wonderful the reaction that he got from the children there. The children wanted to just run up to him for some reason. I don't know if it was the white hair and white beard or what, but they just wanted to run up to him, and he had a big, booming old voice like this, and he would just say, "Hey, hello there," you know, and it was just wonderful seeing the children's reaction and Don interacting with them. It was a great experience. And so as we were walking down the road, you know, a lot of the locals were cordial to us and would wave, and others, you know, weren't so cordial. I never really felt threatened while we were doing this. It was daylight, of course. So I never really felt threatened as we were doing this. But you could tell a lot of the folks, or some of the folks there, didn't care for us a whole lot being there. But most of the folks were welcoming, and it was nice. We had a great walk that day, walked a couple of miles down the road, and then turned around and came back. And it was just a very different experience for me the first time. I'll share some pictures and videos you guys can check out of how the village is there in Soyo, Angola, is where we were in West Africa, if you're just catching on. So Don is a heck of a character, and I loved working with him. I've got a few other stories that's going to involve him, is the reason I'm telling you about him today. Hey, Elizabeth, good to see you. Hey, Tim Ledford, good to see you, brother. Spanky, good morning, brother. Good to see y'all. Hey, Larry, good to see you, brother. Hope y'all doing well out there. So a lot of folks ask me, you know, well, how was it being in Africa? You know, how did you feel safety-wise? And my usual response is, well, it's kind of like walking around New Orleans, you know, or any other big city. If you're walking around the seedier areas of a big city, you know, you just have to keep your wits about you, and don't go out alone for the most part. Don't go walking down a dark alley and that kind of stuff. So we had quite some adventures there, needless to say. And one more other funny story about Don before we get into the story of tomorrow, which is what this little story today is all set up about. When we moved into the house, I had a little, like I said, studio apartment there, and we were there a couple of days, I guess. And as you walked into my little studio apartment and turned to the left, I had a little kitchenette area. And then there was a, you can see this in some of the videos too. I had a little bedroom area that was kind of cordoned off by a shaded half wall. And then there's a little bathroom there. But this day that I, like I said, hadn't been there very long, I walked in my apartment and turned to the left where my little kitchenette is. And I looked up, and where the wall meets the ceiling, there was a spider there. And a spider, I mean, he was as big as my hand. No kidding. So I looked up and I saw this big, hairy spider, as big as my hand on the wall. And I was like, holy crap, I ain't never seen a spider that big in my life. And I'm from Louisiana. We got a lot of creepy crawlies around here, but I never seen nothing like that. So I saw that thing sitting up there, and I said, oh, crap. So I eased on out my door, went back into the main house where Don, like I said, is from Australia, is sitting there in the great room watching TV. So I sat down there on the couch and I looked at him and said, man, I know you're from Australia. I got a big spider in my room. I have never seen anything like this before. He said, well, what does it look like? I said, he's big, he's brown, he's hairy, he's about as big as my hand. And he looked at me and said, "Oh, that's a hairy Hammond, mate. He won't hurt you." I said, well, I can tell you what I really said. But I said, "The hell with that." You know, he ain't living in my apartment. So I got a big can of, I would say Raid, but it was just a can of African bug spray from the pantry there that we had. I said, well, he ain't living in my place. I'm going to go see what I can do about him. So I got this can of stuff, and I walked up to that big old thing, and boy, I sprayed him real good. And he took off running into my bedroom, and I lost him. And I was like, oh, crap, what am I going to do now? I got this big spider in my bedroom. I can't find him. He ran under my bed. I was tearing the place apart. I couldn't find him. I said, oh, man, what am I going to do with this thing? So I went back in the house, sat down there for a little while thinking, what am I going to do? I'm going to have to try to find this thing. And couldn't find him. So after a while, I went back in my apartment. And there he was again, where the wall meets the ceiling. But he was sitting there, and as I saw him, I saw one of his legs was not attached to the wall. So, oh. So I sprayed him again, ran out of the apartment, waited a little while. I come back, a couple more legs were unattached from the wall, but he was still hanging there. So after a while, he eventually fell, and I got him out of my apartment. Wasn't the first time that something like that happened in there. I lived with they had these big multicolored lizards that are about a foot long. I had one of those in my apartment for a while. I couldn't get rid of, so I lived with him for a few days. They didn't bite or anything that I know of. But Dom was funny. He was a funny guy. He was a great project manager. And I've got a couple more stories about him. Tune in tomorrow for the story I have. That's going to really be the setup also for the story I have next week for you, which is the story of the time I got on a commercial flight from Soyo to Angola without a ticket. And that's a heck of a story. But tomorrow's going to be a good one too. The first Africa story I told was the one about us landing in Soyo and me having a experience where we didn't know what was going to happen with some locals that were in the road there. And the first time we thought, oh, this might be a bad situation. Well, the story tomorrow is one that another hair-raising time. I wasn't sure what I was going to do, and I wasn't sure how I was going to make it out of it. But tune in tomorrow for that. It should be a lot of fun for Storytelling Tuesday. Don Faucet was a great guy, and I miss him all the time, along with the other guys that I worked with over there. We had a great team over there, and I'm very fortunate to have gone and had a chance to share some time with those guys and make it home safely, because some of the folks didn't. So